Now, South Africa continues to mourn the late Zulu King Goodwill Zwelithini, who passed away this morning. The king was admitted to hospital in February when his glucose levels rose. He was in ICU but was later said to be recovering. He, however, took a turn for the worse overnight. Our reporter Karinda Jagmohan is in Thandayo Royal Palace in KwaZulu-Natal covering the story for us, and she joins us live now. Karinda, you have been at Thandayo Royal Palace. Do we have any sort of information as far as the remains of the king?
Good afternoon to you. This is one of several of the king's palaces here in KwaNongoma, the birthplace of the Zulu King, and family members have gathered here. From what we understand and from what we hear is that they will soon leave KwaNongoma to go to Durban, where they will perform various cultural rituals that are important at this stage before bringing the mortal remains of the king back to his birthplace, KwaNongoma, and of course proceed with the funeral arrangements. That has not been made clear as yet. We do know that speaking on behalf of the royal family is Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, who is the traditional prime minister to the Zulu monarch, and at this stage he has released a statement saying that while of course at this time many people in the nation wanted to speak to him and hear from him, he has to put first his duties to the family and be with them at this time. So we do expect later this afternoon, possibly even this evening, for the mortal remains to be brought back to the king's birthplace of KwaNongoma. But as we are here, the various condolences from various sectors of society are pouring in, specifically the KwaZulu-Natal government. In fact, as you said, over the next hour they'll be holding a media briefing to unpack, of course, and to speak about the passing away of the king. And they've also said they've suspended all of their upcoming events and activities because of what has happened today, as well as earlier today, the KwaZulu-Natal legislature releasing a statement. Of course, we know that every year, traditionally, the king would open the KZN legislature at the beginning of the year, and at his opening address, it would usually be a two-day event marked first by his opening address. And in their statement, they say that this would usually be a frank conversation about what was needed for the province going forward for a particular year, describing the king as a peacemaker who always called for greater unity among political parties and strongly believed that tensions derailed the delivery of services to the people. And really, that's what we saw over the past few years, especially with regards to that particular address before the opening of the KZN legislature. So we do expect, of course, KwaNongoma over the next week to be a hive of activity in terms of people coming here to pay their respects to the Zulu King, and of course ahead of the funeral arrangements that is yet to be cleared. But we do await now for the next step with regards to the family. You can see many of the family members have gathered outside here. They're still engaging in conversation. We saw them earlier also pausing to engage in prayer, and amid this, of course, speaking about their personal stories, or perhaps their personal engagements that they had with the king, and any family as it is sharing both sad moments as well as light moments. This has been the atmosphere here in KwaNongoma, and of course we'll be here throughout the day giving you updates of what's happening at the birthplace of the Zulu King.
If you could, Karinda, at this point, enlighten us about the king's family, who he leaves behind. Of course, this is apart from the Zulu nation in general.
I'm battling to hear you there. But in terms of the family members, of course, going forward, this is yet to be discussed as funeral arrangements itself is yet to be completed. But going forward, the family will make clear on what their stances will be at this point. He leaves behind several wives as well as several children. It's not clear whether they are here inside this particular palace, but we do know that they are in the company of the traditional Prime Minister, Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, and of course receiving perhaps counseling from him at this time as they mourn the passing for them of their father, as the king would have been a father to the nation as well.
Thank you very much, Karinda. That's Karinda Jagmohan, our reporter, Gwanongoma, at one of the King's palaces.